Yeah, thank you so much for coming in. We're really happy to have you here. We're going to start by introducing a little bit of ourselves and GoHub and what we want to do here. GoHub is a B2B SaaS venture capital fund based in Valencia. We're part of Global Omnium, which is a water utility company from Valencia. And we basically invest in B2B SaaS, mostly in Series C and seed in Series A. We have two funds, one that it's already invested that has 27 companies. We have 27 company portfolio. And then a second fund of 60 million that we are currently investing. And so obviously being a B2B SaaS fund, we're looking a lot at AI technologies, right? And so I think this is a great opportunity for tech people to see what's going on in the venture capital world in Spain and to build something together. And yeah, here are Iván and Rory. You might know them, so I'll give you a word to introduce yourself.
Cool. I'll start.
I'll go first.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Guille, for inviting us all here to your beautiful offices. It's always great to have people participating and helping the community by offering their spaces. So really much appreciation and love to GoHub for that. Okay, so my name's Rory. I am one of the co-founders of Valencia Codes, which is one of the largest technology communities in Valencia. When I'm not doing that, I'm also the CTO and co-founder of an AI startup called Engage. You can find us online at letsengage.com. We make, on the surface, right now, a customer service AI solution, but really what we're trying to build is the world's premium platform for autonomous agents. This is a place where you go to create and manage your intelligent agents. These are agents that can reason, take actions, and go out in the world. They're kind of like little digital co-workers. In terms of my story with AI and why I'm so interested in it, I've been working in this field for about 7 years. I've been working in various startups in natural language processing, AI, and I have to say I a little bit fell out of love with the scene. I got a little bit bored with it until, of course, this little thing called ChatGPT came along, and suddenly everyone was super, super interested in AI again. So it's been really great building out in this space, seeing the incredible creativity from the open source community, seeing oh my God, so much movement, so much activity. So yeah, just incredibly honored and very happy to be with you.
Thank you. So yeah, I share this same thank you very much for hosting us here. I'm super happy to be here. I have a technical background. I'm a telecommunications engineer. I've been coding my whole life, I think, since I got my first computer when I was 12. So for me, it's like a natural way of expressing myself is coding, is my hobby also. But professionally, I've been closer to product, I would say. I've always been this what is now called product engineer. It didn't have a name, but I've always been very close to product people. I usually fall in love with problems more than solutions. That's why I do code, but I code to solve problems. That after 7 years in a startup called OnTrack, which is a B2B marketplace for road transportation, I spent quite some time using machine learning on a vertical problem on logistics. But then I fell in love with this whole new wave of generative AI. I do think it's going to change the world completely, like everything is going to change. Slower than we're seeing, because this has been crazy. The past year has been crazy. And one thing, talking about problems that I was seeing when I started playing around with ChatGPT, I tried to take it to my company and start having people optimize their day-to-day with it. And then a couple of problems were super clear. One was the user experience. There was a huge learning curve. And then the second one was privacy. So I focused on the privacy one because I was super interested in that. And that's why I put together this project, PrivateGPT, back in May. It was just a proof of concept that I put together in a weekend. But it really had an impact in the community. Everyone started forking it and talking about it. And I had a clear idea in mind that in 2024 I was going to go full-time into AI. But that project sped things up. We've basically put together a team. We got some funding, which is not public yet, but it's going to be in a couple of weeks. And we are still maintaining PrivateGPT, but we're also working on a B2B SaaS product for companies to adopt AI in a very simple way. That's kind of my product. Part of me wants to make AI less magic and more usable for people, and that's my current project.
Yeah, thank you, Ivan, for sharing. You published your PrivateGPT project on GitHub, and it quickly got like so much traction. I think you're already at 30K stars or something like that, or even more.
At the moment, 46K.
46K, so really interesting, no? And like you had this idea in mind of solving a problem, and then you shared it, and the technological community realized, no? And it's really interesting how this community can grow products and scale products, and working together. So that's what we're going to do today also. I wanted to also talk about a couple of our portfolio companies that are also building AI, products. We actually got two of them to do a little video to tell you guys what they're doing, and because we're going to talk obviously about what's the benefits of building your proprietary, open source AI versus ChatGPT. So I think we can, play this and then we talk about it.
Hi, this is David Puron, founder and CEO of Barbara, and I wanted to briefly tell you how Acciona collaborated with us to revolutionize the way water treatment plants are operating today. Implementing artificial intelligence models, Acciona is now predicting in real time the amount of chemicals that they need for the operation. This is having massive impact in their operational cost, as well as improving everybody's safety. But it was a very challenging project. Acciona had the data science capability to build the models, and they are using Barbara's technology to acquire data in real time from hundreds of plants distributed all over the world, as well as training the models, as well as running them in a private container that protects Acciona's privacy. So this was a collaborative effort, because doing AI properly is so complex that no company has all the required skills. I hope this was interesting for you, and looking forward to see you in person next time. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, so this was the CEO of Barbara AI, as he said. So it's an interesting case. You can play now the next one.
Hi, I'm Felix, the CEO and co-founder of Neurospace, and I quickly demonstrate what we have been working on with Saudi Aramco. I think everyone knows it, the oil company in Saudi Arabia. We have used our existing platform for document analytics called Doc AI, which has its capabilities in unstructured document analytics and locally spoken languages like Arabic and others. And we have worked on a generative AI use case with them where they wanted to automatically create new documents and automatically create comments for improvements of existing documents. So as you can imagine, Aramco has a huge number of internal documents. Any kind of department-to-department communication happens normally through emails or documents. And very often there are also applications, either for funding or for research purposes or something else. And when these funding applications go from an engineering department to the finance department and the facility planning department, they are normally not perfect in the beginning, and Aramco has very strict standards on how they need to be written, what kind of table of contents they need to have, and so on. And there's also obviously the quality depth of the funding application. So what we do, we take the documents that have been written by an engineering team, and before they even reach the finance team or the facility planning team, we analyze them with AI. And we then provide not only comments for the engineering team to improve those documents, but also write some sections for them from scratch, given the knowledge that our AI models have from Saudi Aramco engineering practices or from global standards that are mentioned in the document. So they want to have, as I mentioned, either comments being written by our generative AI or full sections of the proposal being written based on an extremely short summary that they have previously submitted. And what we've done for them is really fine-tuned a generative AI model. It's a large language model that's specifically capable for Arabic. Obviously, given Aramco is a Saudi Arabian company, normally documents are written in Arabic. Still, we have worked with extremely confidential data because their entire research purposes and research planning that they want to pursue over the next couple of years is part of our database that we took to customize our models. So we were on site at Aramco in Saudi Arabia and then really took all of that information, put it into an LLM, what means fine-tuned LLM heavily on their internal standards and internal documents. And now that model is able to provide comments and write complete new sections for the engineering teams, which is for them not only a huge time saver, but also really interesting in terms of what it can do and what it is able to do for the future. Thanks a lot. Let me know if you have any questions.
So yeah, I think this opens up the discussion, and we were having this discussion just some minutes ago that many companies are spending a lot of money in OpenAI API, while some other companies are developing their own open source AI. So I don't know what you guys think about this.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the key question, and I get this question through PrivateGPT. We get a lot of inbound, obviously, from people that want to build AI into their companies. There's sometimes because of a reason, and sometimes just because they need to bring AI into their company just because the C-level asked for it, or an investor asked for it, and that's an interesting point also to discuss. But anyway, when it comes to using something that is in the market or building your own, I think I usually break the question into 4 different layers. It is the way I like to think about it, because actually it is not just a decision, it is 4 different decisions. So I think when you're building AI software, you have these 4 layers. The bottom layer is the LLM itself, so the models. Are you buying or paying for a model that already exists, or are you using an open source model? And you can pay for GPT-4, you can pay for Claude, you can pay for Falcon. There are several paid models, or you can go open source and use a small Mistral or a Llama. So that's the first decision, and it comes with pros and cons. But the second one is, okay, now you have a model, but you need the infrastructure. So the model by itself does nothing. You need to host it somewhere. You need an inference server. You probably need a vector database if you're using embeddings. You probably need a cache. You probably need a database. So again, you can pay for it. There are solutions that have everything already set up for you. You can go middle way. You can, for example, use Amazon through SageMaker, for example, which gives you kind of solved the infrastructure piece, or you can host it yourself, or you can go local even. The third layer is I would say the functional layer. Like you have your LLM and you can serve, you can host it, but you need to do something with it. So you need to use a framework, or you need to use a functional API. That's where frameworks like LangChain or Llama Index sits. You have paid third parties that offers you a functional API that gives you an API for summarization, another one for document comparison, another one for content generation, etc. And that's also where PrivateGPT sits at the moment. Like it gives you an API that abstracts the complexity of ingesting a document and using it in a contextual completion, for example. And then the last layer is the application itself. And it is true that there are not that many applications that you can buy off the shelf to cover your use case at the moment. So if you think about applications, we have ChatGPT. ChatGPT is an application which is not a very good application, but it is a general access to AI. And then there are a lot of startups verticalizing AI, so we will find a lot of legal tech and fintech based on AI this year, even healthcare, and that's the application layer. So when you're thinking, should I buy or should I build, you need to think, what do you really need? What type of problem are you solving through AI? And once you have it clear, then you need to review all of those 4 layers and decide. Decide if the model is going to be paid or open source, what type of infrastructure you're going to be using. Also depends on your privacy needs, for example. What framework are you going to be using? And then the type of application. Are you going to build it yourself? Do you have the knowledge in-house? Because this is not easy, right? So yeah, that's kind of, I know it's a longer answer than expected, and it is not a yes or a no, but I think it's the 4 things you need to analyze.
No, I really love that, breaking it down into the 4 layers. I think that's a really good way of thinking about this problem. Just to speak a little bit about our experience, so starting off with the application layer. So ChatGPT actually does now have a full stack application layer. They released this thing called the Assistants API or custom GPTs. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to play with that. But that gives you the full stack of being able to upload your own custom documents. It takes care of everything around calling the inference models in the correct way to output things in a chat style. And of course, does all of the hosting for you. The only problem with that is if you have a specialized use case where the types of documents that you have that you need to retrieve are not particularly suited to the particular way that ChatGPT has its assistants set up, then you might be in trouble. So that's an example of where it's great to have this application layer provided to you, but it might be not suitable if you have a very specialized use case. And on about provisioning, so like I said, Engage, we do customer service. We're mainly working with European customers right now. Actually, we operate all across Europe. So we have a large amount of usage during the week at peak times, and really not very much usage at the weekends. So when you're thinking about provisioning these inference models that, you can't just spin up a normal Linux box. This is actually quite specialized gear, and it's pretty expensive. We could be talking like 50 euros a day just as a minimum to get started. You might have it running all night and you don't need it. So you've got to think about, okay, so we've got to build in auto-scaling into this specialized hardware. So already when you're taking on this task of, I want to run my own open source models, little bits of complexity, which OpenAI completely takes off your hands. Mm-hmm. You're just paying by the token, right? You don't worry about scaling up and scaling down and GPU availability. It's all there for you. So a startup that's moving very quickly would have to just skip over that complexity, that DevOps complexity. But I once again really love that answer about the 4 layers. I think that's a really good breakdown.
Yeah, thank you, Rory. It's actually really interesting. However, for the common non-technical corporate, what is the best answer? Like, you want to start using, AI to, I don't know, get data or structure data from your documents, or automate some of your processes. And for example, you have many doubts about, for example, privacy, which is a point that Iván talked about, but also about is it worth it to develop or to use an open source model which can be almost free, but you still have to build a little bit of a product, and you don't have the team. Like, how would you solve that situation for that type of company?
Yeah, I think when it comes to, like, I've been in my previous startup, I was CTO, and when it comes to build versus buy, I would say most of the times the technical people used to go with build, mm-hmm. and most of the times it is the wrong answer. Mm-hmm. So, right? And the reason is that things are more complicated than they look from the outside. And with this, I think we are in the same spot, even more, because this is really complex. And I think there is this contradiction, because past year everyone was running to say how easy it was to build an AI application, right? Like, you have this framework and you can just have a demo with the wow effect, and it was built in a week. Mm-hmm. And it's okay, but now take it to production. Like, it's not going to work. Take it to real customers. It's not going to work, because it was just working for your specific demo use case. So in this case, I would say, if for AI and for everything else, what I always ask is, if this is the core of your product, then build it. If it is not the core of your product, then buy it. Like that's my rule of thumb. And in this case, it is true that there are not many ready-to-use products in the market, but there will be. Like this year, there's going to be a lot of products ready to be used. So if it is core to you and you have the team, then you can build the application layer, probably using OpenAI's API. Don't get into provisioning. But it is not core to you, then probably you will be able to use another solution that is in the market.
And what are the bigger opportunities you think that there are going to be in this market for AI startups?
You want to go?
Wow. So I think the thing that we saw last year was that you can create magic in 24 hours or in a week. And the reason for that is that the base model is very powerful and adds a huge amount of value. The problem with that is you can go from being 0 to 80% effective in 24 hours, but that final 20% is actually really tough. So a lot of the opportunities that we might have seen last year where everything can be AI and it's going to work great. I think a lot of people are kind of stepping back from that because the fact that you can get 80% of the way there in 24 hours does not mean that you can get 100% of the way there after 6 months. So in terms of opportunities I see, look, the current set of models is very good for things like summarization. The Aramco use case that we saw there, that's fantastic. Right. Checking and flagging up things which would have taken hundreds of hours to find and to surface and to summarize. I think absolutely fantastic for that. The more powerful models, I think there's a whole new application OS that's going to come into being this year, which is around reasoning, around autonomous agents. That's obviously something we're deeply involved with. This is the idea that you use the large language model to decide what it should do next. You give it the possibility to talk to the outside world, to talk to other AIs. I think there's going to be a lot of movement there. But certainly, just to really hammer home that the super buzz that we saw last year, I think will go away a little bit. And I think this whole idea of we just sprinkle some AI in and after 24 hours everything's going to be perfect, I think that's not really going to survive this year.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just to sum up, we don't want to bore these people too much, but I was talking to Iván before. Have you guys seen a startup called HeyGen? I watched the Milei's speech on the World Economic Forum. I don't know if you've watched that. This startup just made a video, published a video of Milei speaking in English, the whole speech with like a Spanish accent or like kind of an Argentinian accent with his same voice. And so basically the startup is using Gen AI. You can plug any picture, turn it write a script, and then it will speak with the language that you want now. And you can basically start creating videos that look exactly like real talking, conversation. It's crazy, And so, how do you guys see the world in 5 years, with this technology, disrupting everything?
The way I see the future, and I think this technology is going to help, is hyper-customized. Applications are going to be customized to your use case. Medicine is going to be customized. If you think about it, it is crazy that if both of us have the same issue, we will both get the same treatment. But you and I are completely different, probably. So we should have a specific treatment or amount of medicine. I think the world is going to become customized. The reason why it is not customized as of today is because it would take a lot of manual effort. And this technology is going to remove this manual effort. So it's going to allow for new solutions to the problems that we kind of solve today. And one of them I see is customization. And then the second one is obviously there's a lot of manual work that is not going to exist anymore. There's this manual, low-value type of work, and it is the evolution, how technology has applied to society through history. So every time, the lowest value type of work is the one that was removed by the technology, and then people can focus on higher value type of work. I think that's going to happen again.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I just maybe a kind of a darker note to finish on, I think there's going to be a massive societal impact from not knowing if something is real or not. Just like Guille said there, it's possible to already generate video and audio that seems pretty real of a celebrity. Imagine the scenario when you receive a video call from a loved one saying, help me, Somalian pirates have captured me, you need to wire $50,000 or they're going to, you know. That really happened?
Yeah.
Last week?
No.
Oh, sorry. You asked about 5 years' time. Yeah, the impacts to us as a society, we haven't processed what this is going to do to us yet. So I think it's going to be wild.
Okay, then I don't know if Rory or Iván want to explain a little bit of the hackathon and.
Yeah, I mean, so the idea of the hackathon is gathering groups. Most of the people is technical. And the idea is to use this PrivateGPT project to build something. So first of all, who got it running? Because the installation of PrivateGPT is not trivial. Okay, that's cool. So I would say try to gather around people that got it running. That's important because if you're gonna install it from scratch now, you're gonna you're gonna have a hard time. So the idea is to focus on the idea, I would say, more than the technology. So build this wow effect type of demo that we were talking about that is possible to build in 1 hour and a half.
Does everyone know what PrivateGPT does?
PrivateGPT is, putting it short, is basically an API grabbing a RAG pipeline using one of these frameworks, which is called Llama Index. And it makes very easy to run a local LLM on your computer and then expose it through an API. So it kind of, I have this layers idea because that's the way I build PrivateGPT basically. Yeah. Because the idea is that you have this API and you can have your model running locally or running on AWS SageMaker or even OpenAI. So the thing is that the LLM runs through the API, and the API is kind of a functional API. It's very easy to use. So you have an API for ingest a file, which means you send the file, so that context is in the AI, and you can then ask questions to that context, and that's the whole idea. So you'll find an ingest API, a completions API, and that's about it. And then a chunks API, which is an interesting one because you can run semantic search over your documents super fast without the LLM taking time. So basically, when you get PrivateGPT up and running, you will find an API that is ready to use, and there is also a UI that is running on the same server. So I would say there is kind of two ways of going in this hackathon. One is you can hack the UI and make it something different. The whole UI is using a technology called Gradio, which is Python-based and is super simple to modify. That's one way. The second way is using the API. So PrivateGPT's API, and then you can build your own client or your Discord bot or Slack bot or any other thing that you can imagine. In order to make that second option easier, we put together this week a Python SDK that is make it super simple to interact with the API. So that's also published, and I don't know if everyone got the instructions with the links and everything, but we can share it again.
Yeah, it should be on your calendar invite that you got. Yeah.
I can maybe connect the laptop and we can show around.
Yeah, let's do that. Also, we're going to do some groups. Like if you've not put your name, so we made the post is the pink ones are techies and the other ones are not. And we're going to try to mix them and make like groups of 4 people so you work together. And I think
I'm going to be walking around, just ping me for any question, a technical or if it has to do with what can I do with it. And
and then we'll have some of the groups share what they built and then we have some pizza to network.
I'm more interested in the privacy, and privacy is in the title of the project.
Yeah.
But I saw that by default install something called Mistral 7B. If I'm not mistaken, it's a LLM with 7 billion parameters, something like that. But I wonder if it could be possible to modify the LLM behind.
Yeah.
Why is privacy on the title? I mean, I can understand it's running locally, no one is messing around with my data, but even though if I upload or I'm using a public API, then someone is sneaking on my data. So
yeah, that's a super interesting question. Actually, I when we get inbound from companies that want to have a very private AI, privacy means something different to different people. It depends on your needs. So we have this case of Middle East oil and gas company. They run without internet connection. Nobody knows where they're drilling because this is super sensitive information. So they are somewhere in the desert getting oil out of the they need complete privacy. So the thing, the reason why private is in the name is that it is built in a way you can use the LLM deployed anywhere you want. So it could be fully local, so you remove internet connection and you can run, like I was coming here by train, the internet connection was crap, and I was still working. I was asking him to create some Node.js code for me because I can't code TypeScript. So, and I was running it on PrivateGPT, locally on my computer without internet connection. That's full privacy. But then you can go private in your local infrastructure, maybe, or your company infrastructure on premise, like on your own servers, which is the case of this oil and gas company. Or for me, signing a contract with AWS is private enough for me. Like, I mean, if I'm running PrivateGPT with a model which is running within my private cloud, that's kind of reasonable to me. So it depends on your use case. But the idea of PrivateGPT is that it lets you choose, like the level, what privacy means to you. And on the changing the model. Yeah, you can definitely change the model. And actually, if your laptop is slow, you can go with a smaller model than Mistral.
I was testing with this one Mistral. I was asking a few questions to the model. For me, it looks like ChatGPT, but dumber. Sorry. Well, I think for what I have heard, Mistral, the biggest model, is pretty good.
It's very good, yes.
It's pretty good, but I understand running locally, just the basic is more than enough, just for testing. And I was taking a look on the instruction about how to change the model, but it was too much for me. I had to modify something called Llama CCP or something like that. Recompile the kernel and say, okay, not today.
No. It's just a change on the configuration and running a setup script. There's like I can when we are working all together, like I can go with you and change it.
I have a general question about building the language model. And to build the model, a lot of data is required. And in order to build conversations, the easiest place to find them would be places like YouTube. But it's not very easy to transcribe all these videos in a way that there is an annotation of who said what, which is the point of training a new language model to perform as a particular person. And I was wondering if anyone had to deal with this problem and if there is any platform or software specialized.
Is that not available already? Do you, presumably, what you mean you've been searching for this, but you couldn't find it? Yeah. Or that's what you work on?
As a hobby, yes. I don't have a boss asking to do that, but as a hobby, I try to build a language model specialized on teaching as particular ability.
Well, I have seen startups building, but I guess you know them, annotation tools with AI, but I have never seen this use case exactly. So maybe you can build it yourself.
I wanted to talk about OpenAI's enterprise model says that it's amazingly secure. So, and I was looking at pricing to scale into that area, but I did not want to talk to a salesperson. So that'll have to wait for another day. But it looks like there's a significant difference in security when you go up to the enterprise level.
Yeah, to the extent that when you're using ChatGPT without paying, there is no privacy at all.
And I pay.
It is okay, and it is now clear because before it was not that clear. And I think that's why OpenAI got this bad reputation around privacy. It is because they were not clear whether or not they were using your data. Now it is clear. If you don't pay, your data is being used. If you pay, it is not being used. And I think that's fair and that's cool. Something that may happen. So I've been working with machine learning for a while before this, and there is something called overfitting when you're training a model. So if your training data is too similar or has a particular property that appears again and again, it basically overfits the model. And if we start having more AI-created content on YouTube, on like blog posts are being written by AI now, et cetera, courses, it's going to happen the same. Like I think they're going to stop training on past year, and everything since then is going to be discarded because it's going to be otherwise overfitting, and we're going to be finding more and more homogeneous type of content generated by AI.
Okay, guys, we should get moving, no?
Let's get coding.
Sure.